Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder, who of course I only needed to cough once the stream started. Isn't that how it always works?
Yes, that's how it always works. If you are new to the show, welcome in. If you're returning, welcome back. Of course, what we usually do is we start every show with our thing of the week.
Mhm.
Then we transition into box office, and then our topics. And of course, for thing of the week this week, we're continuing with our what would you call it? Thing of the
Mutual
week
recommendation.
mutual recommendation. Yeah, where I of course recommend something, and then I recommend something to DB. He recommends something to me, and this week I watched The World God Only Knows.
Longtime viewers of the show might remember that I use Kama over there as my avatar on YouTube, and back before I got my webcam here, uh, uh, you
Yeah.
were presented with a nice static image of that the entire show.
Yes, and so yeah, when you recommended this to me, I kind of I went and looked at it and went, oh, that's your avatar. so
Yep.
yeah, so the crux of the series is that Kima Katsuragi is he's a Japanese high schooler who likes to play his dating sims on his like little PSP type device, and he always
PFP. It's totally
P,
legally distinct.
PFP, yes. And so he plays it even in class. He prefers the gaming world to the real world. And of course, he knows there is a distinction between the world of games and the real world. And then one day he gets a message from somebody, and what he doesn't realize, it's he thinks it's some sort of a challenge for him, but in reality, it's a contract with a demon. And then this girl shows up. Her name's Elsie, and she's the one with the little skull thing on her, yeah, on her head. And he has to basically has to seduce girls in the real world because there are loose souls trapped inside of them, and they're overriding their heart, overriding a part of their heart. So he has to work his way into the girls' hearts so that he can drive the loose soul out. Have I got that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Right. I think part of it is that another aspect of the show is that, like, I forget the exact mythos behind it because it's been a while, but there's basically a bunch of evil spirits that got released from hell by accident, and so Elsie's job is to get them back. It's very 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo.
Yes. And of course, Elsie, she's kind of like a lower tier demon, and she's mainly only her main skills so far have just been cooking and cleaning.
Yes.
Uh, and, uh, and of course, part of the contract is if you could probably see it on the image. Kima has the purple band around his neck, and if he doesn't go around and drive out the loose souls, he's going to lose his head. And same with Elsie, because it's part of the whole contract. And
I am thou, thou art I.
yes. And so then Elsie then ingratiates herself into the family. She pretends to be his long lost sister, who uh, is the love child of. She says, "I'm the love child of Kima's father."
She just completely destroys his family.
Yeah, just like what?
And Holy Ninja, this sounds like a lamer version of early Yu Yu Hakusho. I mean, It's an entirely different genre, so
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm 8 or 9 episodes in, and I'm enjoying the series. I mean, it's fun. It's a nice blend of comedy and drama. Uh, oh no. Uh, and
yeah. Just for the record, we recommend these things to each other. You watch a whole movie, of course, but when we recommend each other TV shows, we only have like a 3 episode rule.
right.
The fact that he's 9 in is telling.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, it's like I said, it's funny. I like Kima. He's a funny guy. He's exactly how you would expect a protagonist and to be in a series like this. He's not he's not a bumbling, idiot like most male main characters are in an anime series like this. He actually knows what he's doing, although he'll occasionally get flummoxed because he's not used to dealing with 3D girls. He's used to dealing with 2D girls.
Yes.
But it's it. But he certainly makes the series enjoyable, and it's funny, and keeps your attention, and Ninja Toast says, "Oh no, oh no, was about the sister because okay, so there's a funny little episode, and I think it's like the third episode,
Yeah.
second or the third episode where he has to come to the realization that to accept her as his little sister, even though like he said the criteria for being a little sister is we have to be
BMW blood.
BMW. Yes.
Blood. I forget what the other two ones are. Making memories or making
Memories, yeah,
memories.
and then I can't remember what W was, but yeah, it's and he's yeah, so and then he starts to realize, oh, as it goes along, oh, she's starting to meet the criteria.
Right. Also, this series does not engage in any sort of sister love at all.
No.
No, in fact, the whole sister thing is them very firmly slamming the door on that
Yes.
concept, so that
Yes.
it doesn't pollute the rest of the series.
Yes,
So
exactly.
you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it.
Right, yeah, and also too the not really all that fan servicey.
No, there's some, but
There's some, but not like I mean, because like a lot of the girls aren't they're not what you would expect from anime girls in a series like this. It's not they're not like Marin Kitagawa, who's just
yeah, constantly on display.
yeah. uh, but yeah, I mean, check it out if you get the chance. It's on Crunchyroll. I don't know if it's anywhere else. It might be on Hulu. I'm not. I haven't checked, but
Decent chance it would be.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I really like about it is that it really dives like basically each girl has a psychosis. Like that's what the loose soul has like got into there to feed on.
Yeah.
And so you get to explore different characters. Like everybody has like a big flaw that is messing with their lives. So it's very rewarding to watch Kama figure it out.
Yeah, and of course he draws on his experience from playing dating sims to help him out with that.
Yep. He knows when to hold him, knows when to neg him.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. He's a pretty cool protagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
good. I'm glad this was to your liking.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on my end, so on my list of 90s movies I had never actually seen for whatever reason,
Mhm.
The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. So this was not what I expected in a lot of ways. So,
Mm.
so to kind of go into it, I had seen a good number of Brendan Fraser movies in the 90s, but a lot of them were kind of like the more kid-oriented ones, like
Yeah.
Dudley Do-Right, George of the Jungle, Encino Man.
Yeah.
I had not real like his only hit me later as I've gone back and watched certain movies that he was kind of. I almost thought he was a kids-oriented actor, but no, he runs the whole gamut of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Digito's never seen this movie either.
Well, it is on Hulu, so if you have
Oh,
a subscription, spoiler alert, I think it's worth the watch. It is just a
yes.
very straightforward adventure movie in kind of the Indiana Jones vein.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So if you want a little bit more of that before they go and ruin it with Dial of Destiny, I mean, before they don't make an Indiana Jones movie because we don't feel the need to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
There were no Indiana Jones movies after The Last Crusade.
no, what are you talking about? You're crazy.
Yes.
But so the so the basic so the movie starts off and it is with a breakdown of the backstory of the titular mummy,
Hmm.
which was surprisingly dark, and it sets the tone for the rest of the movie very well.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was the what the high priest
I,
of a pharaoh, and
mhm.
he was dipping his ink in the company pen, or dipping his pen in the company ink, excuse me, a
Yeah,
little bit, and
yeah,
with
yeah.
with the pharaoh's top concubine. By the way,
Hmm.
this movie is not at all ashamed of the male gaze,
Oh no.
not even slightly.
Oh yeah.
So, uh, and he ends up being punished by being mummified alive with a bunch of scarabs eating him alive.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that was. I remember. I actually saw this movie in the theater when it came out, and yeah, that opening scene with that, I'm like, oh, geez.
So, so many thousands of years later, we open up with a fight with Brendan Fraser. Now, what's interesting about this movie, they don't often establish things,
Hmm.
which makes it move along in a very breezy thing. Like that little bit of exposition dump at the start to set up what the mummy
Yeah,
is like the only real exposition you get outside of one other scene with a couple of the protagonists. It's like you
yeah,
never find out what Brendan Fraser was doing with that group of people who were trying to investigate the site with the where the mummy was buried.
yeah. They were French Foreign Legion.
Oh, did they say that? I guess I missed it.
I don't know if they say it, but you could tell by the uniforms.
Okay, I guess that's my ignorance. But like I
Yeah,
said, they never make a point of saying, "Oh man, here we are with the French Foreign Legion fighting off these Tuaregs."
yeah,
It's just assumed. Okay, you can figure out from context clues that Brendan and his team are outnumbered here, and they're being
hmm,
descended upon by a bunch of desert nomads.
yep,
The movie similar now that so he manages to escape with his life, and you find out that there are these guardians who have been trying to keep the mummy and the city of the dead from being found all these years.
hmm,
Uh, it, then you meet there's like a trio of main protagonists. There's Brendan Fraser's character,
hmm.
and this shows my inability to remember names a lot of the time. Um, and you have this pair of siblings who no, not anime brother and sin sister,
Yeah,
holy ninja. Since you're so worried about that today, but
yes.
they're the children of a couple of a. Actually, was the brother a full sibling or a half sibling?
I don't know if they ever established that.
Yeah, because he like the girl is half Egyptian, half British, with a great interest in Egyptology.
Hmm.
Her brother's kind of a like he's like half interested and kind of a bumbling comic relief character.
Yeah, he's kind of the the huckster. He's kind of a huckster
Yeah.
type of guy. Yeah,
Uh, if this movie had been made 20 years later, they probably would have gotten Tom Hiddleston to play him.
yeah,
He's along that Loki line,
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
just more mischief than evil.
Yes.
And so they stumble across this map to the city of the dead, which has this supposedly has this enormous treasure in it. Uh,
Hmm.
and it just it, and it's I'm finding it slightly hard to describe because it just keeps moving so quickly. Because like
Yeah.
you can spend a lot of time summarizing the back and forth, but long story short, they and a rival group who they also never establish, but they manage to use context clues to make sure that you understand every person adequately.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he's the cowboy of the group. He's the he's the British guy with the fez. So he's
Mhm.
like you can kind of like read between the lines and go, okay, he's the guy who goes somewhere and is too and wants to get immersed in the culture, so to speak.
Yeah.
You've got the guy with the glasses who kind of comes off as the brainy one, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the whole adventure is full of a lot of kind of tropey things like, oh, it's the ancient Egyptian curse, it's the ancient Egyptian pyramid full of death traps, and
Mhm. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, yeah, all the so I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Keep going.
yeah, that's fine. Um, so I almost don't want to go too much further because the movie is not shy about having a body count among named characters.
Mhm.
The movie is not shy about moving briskly. I mean, spoiler alert: the Mummy does get released,
Yeah.
but I was talking with Daniel about this, and while I was watching it, and I'm so used to modern movie pacing that I
Mhm.
thought the Mummy was only going to be released at the end of the movie. Because
Yeah.
that's how they do it in every Marvel and DC movie, right? You
Right. Yeah.
never like Suicide Squad came to mind. It's not like the Enchantress like was released in the middle of the movie. Like
Right. Yeah.
she was like the final boss.
Yeah.
Um, and that was it was just so refreshing as I was watching it, thinking, you should like take a bunch of the modern comic book writers over at Marvel and DC and clockwork orange them this movie. Like tape their eyes open, force them to watch it. Like, okay, this is how a graphic novel or comic book should be because it's using visual storytelling. You don't have to have long conversations of characters establishing every little thing. We know enough to know here's how the mummy works, here's what the mummy needs to get his full power.
Yeah.
Here, but like here's how the plot is moving around. We see that there is a love story, but we don't have to like have it beaten into our heads why they like each other. They're just two attractive people with similar interests who this gel.
Yes. Yeah.
Because this isn't a love story; it is a
It's a fantasy adventure action movie. Yeah.
yes. The romance is like a spice to it because
Mhm.
dang, what's the actress's name again?
Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz. Daniel Craig is a lucky man
Yeah.
because dang, she looks good in this movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Uh,
1 second. It never fails. It never fails.
you get people messaging you right when we're doing the show.
Yep. There will be no activity for at least not a phone call this time, but
Yeah.
there'll be no activity for hours before or after, but during, always during.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, and yes, Jangus, we are talking about the Brendan Fraser movie. So I give this a strong recommend. The graphics are slightly dated, but oh
Ooh.
god, I'm
No.
looking at the wrong screen here.
Ooh.
My bad. Let's
No
try
problem.
this again.
Once more with feeling.
We want this screen. Here we go.
Yes. There we go. Okay.
So what was I saying? So
The effects are a little dated.
yeah, because it is 1999 CGI in a lot of places, but I
Mhm.
would say it's where it's like it's one of those things where it's the effects themselves are dated, but it's directed well and implemented well. So it's like while like some of the sand dunes, you can tell, okay, that's obvious low poly CGI. It's like it's not.
Yeah.
It gets what it's across, and again, I don't want to go too much into it because so if you have a story that's like very navel gazy, you can like pluck a incident out and talk about it very easily without
Mhm.
spoiling anything. Like
Yeah.
If I talk about, say, the British Air Force guy,
Oh
if I,
yeah.
if I talk about him at all, I will have spoiled the effect of the character because he has like 3 scenes and he is very effective in those scenes.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about what happens to the rival group of adventurers because to talk about that would be to spoil the impact of their scenes. This is a
Yeah.
pretty terrifying action adventure movie in places.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I was actually kind of surprised by the at the level of like violence and scary images in there. You know.
Like there's this one villain who or one bad guy who meets a very just and poetic end that is just you think it's bad and then it gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chinga says, what is Rachel Weisz up to these days besides being there? Well, she was in Black Widow.
Bum, bum, ba-dum.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're like me and apparently Holy Ninja Toe, yeah, give it a watch. I don't know if I want to brave my way into the sequels because it seems like it might be a concept that doesn't lend itself to sequels.
Yeah, the the Mummy Returns isn't a horrible movie. It has some moments in there that are really good, but it's overall not nearly as good as this one.
Okay.
And it talk about laughably bad CGI. Uh,
Oh
just
man.
look up Dwayne Johnson's Scorpion King, and you
Uh,
know.
I mentioned that to another friend, and he said basically the same thing, like I, about the sequels.
Yeah, and then and just skip the third one entirely. Yeah,
Okay. Well, speaking of possibly disappointing follow-ups,
yeah,
we're gonna break our normal pattern because before we get into box office, which is intrinsically linked with our with one of our major stories here,
yes.
Daniel, you saw.
Yes, I watched the premiere episode for The Mandalorian season 3. It was not uh, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. And like nothing, not a whole lot happens in it. That's kind of the main problem. I mean, main problem. This season's going to be a slow burn. So if you didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, and I don't blame you for that. Um, Grogu, better known as Baby Yoda, he went back. He decided to go back to the Mandalorian. Decided to forsake his Jedi training with Luke Skywalker. And so now they're going off again on adventures, and so this season starts off where the Mandalorian goes back to his old whatever coven where they call it of the Mandalorians that he was with. That was another thing that happened in Book of Boba Fett was that he's been banished from this his convent of Mandalorians because he took his helmet off. And so he shows up, and they're basically they've got a bunch of new foundlings, new kids that they're going to be training, and the scene reminded me of a baptism,
Hmm,
the way that they did it because it's in the water, and he saves the day when this giant alligator like creature comes out and attacks him. Um, so Mandalorian basically wants to he wants to rejoin this coven, and they tell him the only way he can do that is if he bathes in the waters of these mines on Mandalore. But then they tell him, well, all the mines are all destroyed, and Mandalore is just a toxic wasteland because it got bombed to
nuked
head,
horribly. Yeah.
bombed horribly by the Empire. And but he decides, well, I'm going to go anyway, and then he goes to Navarro, the volcanic like planet where Carl Weathers is, and of course now they turned Carl Weathers' character into Lando Calrissian, basically.
Yeah, because that's who he was in the first season.
Yeah. Yeah, because Navarro, because he's basically like Lando Calrissian, Lando running Cloud City. But
Probably because Billy D. Williams isn't in the best of health. I wonder if they would have actually brought in Lando for that if he had been able.
yeah, maybe, yeah. But anyway, so Mando is there because he wants because they built a statue of IG-11, the IG unit in the first season who sacrifices himself. And of course they built the statue out of some of his parts because Mando wants IG-11 back because he said he wants a droid he can trust.
Taika Waititi needed a check.
Yeah. That yes, that's exactly it. Yes, Taika Waititi needed a check. Well, I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder did so well.
Oh.
But anyway, of course he can't fix them, and he needs this part to fix IG-11. So then the episode ends where, of course, he runs into space pirates too. It's just a lot of little stuff happening, but not a lot. It's weird. There's a lot of stuff happening, but nothing happens. It's very odd.
You know what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
And then, which is always a bad sign. It should be like because of blop.
Yeah. And then he goes to this other planet, and he meets up with Bo-Katan, she's living in her castle. And he tells her, that he's going to Mandalore to go into these mines, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's in the middle of this city. Have fun."
Whatever. It's drunk o'clock.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much how that scene went, and that's it. That was the first episode. Just like I said, it's gonna be a slow burn. Not a whole lot going on.
Yeah. Call Me Cheeto had a really funny breakdown of it. I didn't subject myself to it like Daniel did. He's I guess we'll call him our Disney Plus correspondent.
Yes.
But it's interesting because Mandalorian is like the one aspect of Disney Star Wars that people enjoy. And it sounds like they are almost taking that for granted. You almost wonder if part of the problem is that they got their season introduction stolen to try to pad out Book of Boba Fett.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, Ninja Toe. Yeah, where's the conflict? Good question.
It's man versus nature because he's trying to get to the mines.
And he's trying to fix his droid friends, and there's friendship, and then
and magic and ponies.
Magic and ponies, yeah.
So, and also, I had no idea that this was dropping. You wonder if how heavily they've actually been advertising this.
Other than I think maybe an ad during the Super Bowl, I haven't really heard anything about it.
Was there an ad for the Super Bowl for this one?
Or it might not have been the Super Bowl. It might have been one of the other playoff games before it.
Okay.
Is it at least a fun episode? No, not really, Chingus.
It sounds a little bit half baked. Like there's concepts in there that could work.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think that bringing IG-11 back is a stupid idea.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think so too. It diminishes his sacrifice at the end of the first season.
Right. At least have it be like, he had his memory cortex had some sort of important data that they needed.
Yeah.
Not just, I want a droid and there's only one droid I can trust.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. I don't have a whole lot of hope for this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ninja Toe says I've grown tired of most things Star Wars from the constant releases and constant. Yeah, I'm with you there, Ninja Toe. It's
There's this amazing ability to have a thing move from fun in your mind to not fun. It's very hard to overcome that.
Yeah.
Like, I could think of some franchises that I still enjoy the content, or actually, to continue enjoying the content, I stay the hell away from any sort of online discussion about it. Like, just for example, I enjoyed the Demon Slayer series. Um, I watched their first two seasons, and when I hit the end of the second season, I went out and bought the manga series and caught up to the end. There are issues you can take with that one.
Mhm.
And I am aware of those issues you could take with it. And so, because I am aware of those issues and don't feel the need to have them driven into my head, I, I do not get into long discussions about Demon Slayer with people online or watch review videos on it.
Yeah.
So, I think that's kind of how there's it's funny. Like you have to, if you immerse yourself in an online subculture, the online subculture almost becomes more important than the media around the culture.
Yeah. Yeah, and no greater example of that than with the Snyderverse.
Oh, absolutely. Like I ping ponged around on that one. Some of my ping ponging around on the opinions of it, of it was just based on me getting sick of certain people talking about it all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Like I never liked a lot of those movies, but I had kind of a attitude on some of them, which eventually turned into go away.
Yeah.
If it is Snyderverse, I don't want to touch anymore. Like that's big chunk of why when Henry Cavill got the boot, I just said, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah.
It's like to bring up Star Wars. It's like Grand Moff Tarkin saying, "And with that, the last remnants of the old Republic have faded away."
Yes. And yeah, Nijito says yeah, he's with My Hero Academia and Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings. Yeah.
My Hero is another one where I feel like I keep getting the sense that there is something controversial that happens in a season I haven't gotten around to watching yet, and I want to keep it that way.
Yes.
Where I don't
Yeah.
get spoiled and I
Yeah.
don't have to deal with video essays where people talk about why it's bad. Let me make that choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And so the plot doesn't move forward. Is there anything like fun character action, character insight, anything remotely interesting? Um, yeah. I mean, there are a couple of funny moments in there, Changus. They brought back. I don't remember the name of the alien species, but it's Babu Frick from Rise of Skywalker.
Oh no.
Those aliens are in there.
Hey.
Hey, yeah. And there's a little funny interaction there with Mando and those guys and Grogu and those guys. So
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like when you don't actually have any meat for your soup, so you just load up on spices.
yeah, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
It sounds like there's a bunch of little things that could be cool and would be great as like a spice on a show or an episode, but
yeah,
you can't just have a big pile of coriander.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Um,
That's
s-
yeah,
speaking of transitions,
yes,
so we normally do the box office at this point. I almost say like the box office itself is inextricably linked with one of our topics.
yeah.
So do we and then that would almost make our last topic seem unimportant. So Daniel, do we hit the box office first or do we do an update on one of last week's stories first?
Um, let's update last week's story first,
Yes. So
just to change things up a little.
yeah, so we have a new story and an old story. So old story. They've backed off a little bit from the Roald Dahl thing
Hmm.
and are going to be releasing an edition that that is the original to go along with the censored version. Now, of course, the real victory would be to not have any version that was censored
Yes.
and let people make their own choices. But but it's something.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, this article I read a little bit of before we started because I was looking up something that confirmed the Roald Dahl story, and
Yeah.
the author makes an interesting point further on down. However, James Bond classics now being edited for your protection.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ian Fleming is getting the same treatment as Roald Dahl, and
Yes.
it's and from what I've heard, it's whatever bad things about saying bad things about certain groups of people.
And some of the sexual content, which
Yeah.
I'm going to be frank, James Bond is up there with the Flashman Papers and certain other properties where if you remove the sexism and racism, what do you have left? Like you just have, there's a guy named Blofeld who's going to blow up the world, and James Bond is going to go in an orderly fashion from exotic locale to exotic locale, and certainly
Yeah.
not romance any ladies. No, that would,
No,
or have any opinions about the ladies he's romancing.
no. He's gonna get into car chases and fights and gun battles.
So this author from the Independent, by the name of Lewis Chilton, made a very interesting point. So first off, he mentioned how Warner Brothers shows Looney Tunes something. While these cartoons do not represent today's society, they are being presented as they were originally created because to otherwise we do the same as claiming those prejudices never existed. So,
Yes, way to
well
go.
done, Warner
Yeah.
Brothers. That's the proper approach to take.
Yes.
There are certain episodes that are just outright banned. It's harder to make a case to keep Coal Black and the Seven Dwarves in circulation.
Yeah.
It should probably be available in some form, just
Yeah.
for historical preservation. But it's hard to like say, yeah, let's put that on a DVD and have it sitting at Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah. Have they effectively canceled Speedy Gonzales?
They keep ping ponging on Speedy Gonzales so freaking much. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so here's the thing. The character is very popular in Latin America,
Mm-hmm.
so, and he was like in the latter part of Warner Brothers, a huge chunk of their output involved Speedy. Mind you, a lot of that wasn't very good because it was the stupid made-for-TV cartoons with him fighting Daffy Duck of all people.
Yeah.
But Speedy was like one of the was one of those characters who really like was big in the latter half of Looney Tunes lifespan.
Mhm.
And so it's like they keep trying to decide: is he an insensitive character with stereotypes with a white guy named Mel Blanc playing him with a pronounced accent, or is he a fun, clever hero who always one-ups his enemies despite being outgunned and outmatched?
I would say the latter.
Yeah, but it's just like the popular opinion keeps ping ponging around.
Yeah.
It's similar to the situation in there was a joke about it in Looney Tunes Back in Action, another Brendan Fraser movie,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you have Porky. I forget if he's like if he's at an interview or if he's sitting at a cafe. But it's like well, you told me to lose the stutter, then get the stutter back, and lose the stutter again. Well, make up your mind. Because and that actually kind of points out the problem of trying to modify things for modern audiences. What modern audiences want can turn on a freaking dime in a moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
But this author makes an interesting case. A cynical mind might also question the timing of the Bond news, just days after the Dahl revelations provoked frantic online consternation. You could hardly contrive a more high-profile marketing campaign than this. The announcement of a new, unamended Roald Dahl Classic Collection is about as lucrative an act of appeasement as they come.
Mm-hmm.
So their theory was that it isn't so much a get woke, go broke situation. It's a threaten to go woke so people give you money so you don't. And And then you also have your woke editions. You get to sell twice as many books for books that we've talked about before. The beauty of distribution along these lines is that once the book exists, as long as you don't lose your master of it, you can just make unlimited digital copies, print as many books as you think you can sell at your book channels.
Yeah.
And since the author's dead, you're mostly just sharing with the estate.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's basically free money.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, Ninja says that is actually clever and hilarious.
You almost wonder if that's we went over last week with the Roald Dahl situation, why so much of the censorship seemed pointless and stupid. You almost wonder if the sensitivity readers are being played, like
Yeah.
they're intentionally making them do stupid things. Also, you can tell I have the new glasses with the blue light filter because
Oh.
I went at just the right angle to make my eyes look just completely anime protagonist or anime villain.
Yeah. Yes.
But so I think our actual stance on this hasn't changed. We are opposed to
No.
censorship, especially with people who can't defend themselves. Because, like, imagine if Roald Dahl or even Fleming were alive and they said, hey, I thought about it. There is something I would like to change in this book. There's more of a case to be made.
Yeah. 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 Push up the glasses.
Exactly, according to Keikaku.
Yeah.
Anyway, George Lucas, it's different if George Lucas does things to his creation versus if he died and Bob Iger did something to his collection.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. I think, if the creator of the work is no longer with us, and they're not there to defend themselves, then they, just leave it alone. Don't mess with it at all.
Yeah. Again, it would be better to take things out of. Excuse me.
Sorry.
It would almost be better to take it out of circulation for a while rather than to try to modify it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and Ninja Toast says, the only censorship that is acceptable is before publishing, aka editing. Yeah.
Yep.
And I've actually heard stories about that too. Like a lot of writers, they'll actually they won't submit their work until like the very last minute before they have to, so to avoid any real hardcore editing.
Very sneaky.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of almost buying into this guy's thesis that it's just them trying to drum up interest for books where the sales have been down for a bit.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because we've seen a large cottage industry making money off of outrage.
Yes.
It would be surprising if people in the publishing industry hadn't noticed and hadn't been coming up with strategies to double dip like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised it took this long.
Yeah. So now basically, now on top of a lot of YouTube outrage seeming mildly pointless these days, now we have to worry about, okay, who was it, cui bono?
I think
Who
so.
benefits?
Yeah.
Well, we know one person who didn't benefit, to kind of go back to our headline story.
Yes.
Ant-Man. Ant-Man did not benefit.
No.
After having a very weak opening, for a Marvel movie that cost $200 million, $105-ish million opening weekend is a very weak opening.
Mm-hmm.
For reference, we pulled up a couple other movies. Thor: Love and Thunder from the summer, opening weekend, 144 million. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness conned people into 180 million.
Yeah.
187 million in the U.S. in its opening weekend.
That's a good way of putting it. Conning. Yeah.
Yes. We kind of had a feeling that it was going to be a bad drop. Like it just edges out Thor: Love and Thunder's 68 million. Doctor Strange has 67 million percent, or 67 million, 67% drop. Yeah,
Yeah.
67 million% drop.
Especially
The
with
theaters charged Disney back
yes.
$1 billion. No,
Yeah.
but when your opening is near 200 million, you really don't have anywhere to go but down. So
Yeah.
that's more understandable. But when you come in it with like a little bit more than half of Doctor Strange's opening, and you manage to make a
Yeah.
70 million or 70% drop, that's no good.
No. No, that is not good at all. It doesn't bode well for it doesn't bode well for the movie.
Yeah. Now, I was looking at comparables. Spider-Man, Spider-Man,
European Vacation.
Spider-Man European Vacation actually came in at. By the way, can we please next Spider-Man movie not have the word home somewhere in the title, please,
Yes.
please?
I agree. Yes.
It makes it very confusing to talk about.
Yeah.
But this movie actually opened it up to a $92 million opening, which is interesting.
Mhm.
Um, although it legged out and actually beat its the numbers.com projection because people like
Yeah.
their Spider-Man and went back to it.
Yeah.
That was a fun movie.
Yeah, it was, and nice little. We were talking before the show. It was a nice little epilogue to Endgame.
Right. It's basically Peter dealing with the grief of losing Iron Man at the same time the audience is also dealing with the grief of losing Iron Man.
Yeah.
But now it came in less, but that was also at a time when movie tickets were considerably cheaper. So
Mhm.
way more butts sat in seats, especially internationally.
Yes.
Like the difference here is that this movie grossed nearly twice as much internationally as it did domestically, where our friend Ant-Man here, they are more or less neck and neck
Yeah.
for those international versus domestic sums. By the way, we talked last week about how Box Office Mojo accidentally added the US gross to it twice, making it look like it had a $370 million combined opening weekend.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nearly 3 weeks out, we have not yet met that number.
Oof. Yeah, that is not good. And I said this last week when when we were looking at its opening weekend. And and I know Chris Gore said the same thing, which great minds think alike, I guess.
Yep.
That the hardcore Marvel fans all went out to see it opening weekend,
Yep.
and of course they went to it because they like they're hardcore Marvel fans and they didn't want to get spoiled. And then they they said okay that was all right, or maybe they either said it was okay or they hated it and they don't, or for whatever reason they don't want to go see it again,
Right.
and you see this huge drop off.
And I'd almost wondered if Ant-Man would be spared that. Even despite the bad review ratings, the audience supposed to seem to like it, which we talked about last week. How,
Yeah.
uh, um, or at least we've talked about it before. I think that the Rotten Tomatoes audience score is one of the less useful indicators,
Yeah.
because well, even outside of any shenanigans that they might pull with it, um,
Hmm.
if it's overwhelmingly positive, that's people self-selecting who would like this type of movie, especially in a well-established franchise like this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody like anybody who's tired of Marvel just didn't go.
Yeah.
I thought that it's starting off with a lower number and not having a lot of competition, it might land more softly.
Yeah.
No.
No.
70% drop. That makes
Yeah.
it the harshest drop in MCU history, starting with a relatively small number too.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's doesn't and I doesn't bode well for the MCU, because I mean it's we've been talking about Marvel fatigue for a couple of years now, and I think we're really starting to see the results of that, and we're really starting to see it coming through.
Yeah, I thought this was right. You know what other movie had a 70% drop in second week? Ang Lee Hulk.
Oh, I never saw that movie, but I heard it was really bad.
I enjoyed it, but I also didn't have a very discerning taste at the time. So I probably just liked, oh, it's the Hulk and it's a comic book movie. Oh, and they're doing this thing like, the extra panels look like comic book panels. That's cool and not stupid.
Yeah, and directed by the guy who did Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Didn't he also do Brokeback Mountain?
Yes.
Then again, Heath Ledger was in Brokeback, so that isn't the kiss of death.
No, that's true.
But anyway, yeah, this is especially bad for this movie because like the Eternals bombing, that damages the brand slightly, but it doesn't hurt the ongoing narrative because Daniel, I think you were the one who subjected yourself to us being our Disney Plus correspondent.
Yeah.
That is now your new title.
Oh yeah, yay.
um, that movie didn't really set anything up of importance for future movies going forward, right?
Kind of. You had the celestial that was living inside Earth, which I think is going to come up in the new Captain America.
Oh,
Because I from what I've heard, or at least from the rumors I've heard, they discover adamantium in the celestial.
huh.
Yeah, so that's how they're bringing adamantium and the X-Men into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it does end on a cliffhanger.
That cliffhanger is never getting paid off, is it?
Yeah, no, it's never going to get paid off.
Uh, So here's the problem making this whole interconnected universe thing, and this is similar to the problem that Ant-Man is going to have.
Hmm.
Uh, if nobody sees the darn thing,
Yeah,
they're going to be so confused when you bring it up.
yeah, yeah, and they're going to be really confused when they see Kang. Like, who's this Kang
Right.
guy? What?
Yeah, because Loki was the most widely viewed Marvel show by various metrics, I believe.
Hmm.
So people would have a much better chance of recognizing Kang from that.
Yeah,
But the big problem is that you keep introducing multiverse Kangs, and while that is part of the character, do you know how confusing that is for casual moviegoers? Like,
yeah,
like one of the biggest mistakes that they made in the Snyderverse, I distinctly remember sitting in front of the TV on Super Bowl Sunday when the Batman v Superman trailer came out. My
yeah.
grandmother goes, "I thought Superman and Batman were both good guys. Why are they fighting?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, and the other thing too, with oh god, what was I gonna say? Um, oh, I can't remember. I, I
It
lost.
sounds
I
like you
lost my.
had the same kind of week I had.
Yeah. Oh, it was with the multiverse stuff. So an interesting little thing came to my attention. Um, so we all know, you know, that how Jessica Gao was the head writer on She-Hulk.
Hmm.
She was a writer on Rick and Morty.
I see where you're going with this.
Well. Here's the thing: she's not the only former Rick and Morty writer that's working for Marvel now. Apparently Kevin Feige's a big fan of Rick and Morty.
Oh no.
So you got these two other Rick and Morty writers. One of them was a writer on Quantum Mania, and the other one, I believe he's writing the Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, the same. Yeah, I think the same guy who wrote Kang Dynasty wrote this movie.
Yeah, and there was another guy. And then the other one wrote Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, so it's just
It's like,
okay. I'm going to be very mean for a second here.
okay,
Rick and Morty is not a good show. You might find it funny, but that's different than being a good show. Like
yeah,
Family Guy is not a good show in the same way that Latter-day Simpsons is not a good show. Like, you can have episodes that you think are hilarious
Yeah.
because they take a premise and execute on it.
Mm-hmm.
But like from like a character perspective, a lot of these, especially like Adult Swim shows like Rick and Morty, are devoid of character progression and the ability to take themselves seriously. Like
Yeah.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Nobody really cares about the characters from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. You can enjoy their shenanigans, but it's just going to be reset the next episode.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty plays in much the same ballpark.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, Ninja Toast says Rick and Morty was a mistake. Yeah.
It turned out to be. I
Yeah.
remember like watching the first couple of seasons and thinking, "Oh, this is that Futurama feel I haven't seen for a while."
Yeah, and they were basically taking Back to the Future and twisting it into something really very nihilistic and almost psychotic.
Yeah, so like I can only watch so much of that, but they are definitely not the people that you bring in to have serious takes on characters you want the audience to give a darn about.
Yeah, yeah, and just because they wrote a show about where a character, there are multiple versions of this character and everything is like, okay, that
And I'm going to give an example. Do you know who John Schwartzwelder is?
I don't.
He is a prolific writer of Simpsons episodes.
Okay,
Let's see your episodes he was responsible for off the top of my head. Oh, geez, he like there's like more than 30 or 40 of them just from the early seasons.
okay.
Um, if you remember the joke with Homer, if you watch the commentary tracks on The Simpsons for those early seasons, you'll hear the writers frequently say, "Yeah, that was a Schwartzwelder joke," or "That is the most Schwartzwelder scene I've ever seen." Like like classic one from Homer jumps out of the shower, picks up the phone. "Hello, you'll have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel."
Yeah.
The writers immediately said, "Yeah, that was a Schwartzwelder joke." So John Schwartzwelder wrote a series of novels that he self-published.
Mm.
The first novel of which I read was called "The Time Machine Did It." Imagine a whodunit novel with a time travel flair, written by the guy who is the zaniest writer from The Simpsons. You do not actually care about anything that happens to the detective.
Yeah.
It's just like, do you find these weird scenarios he keeps finding himself in funny or not?
Yeah.
Like, you can't really do character growth for a character like that who's basically a meaner version of Homer Simpson,
Yeah.
who's there to get punched in the gut and make jokes about, I am 180 pounds of pure muscle covered by 50 pounds of protective flat or flab, and this is why.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
So you can't have people whose skill set is deconstruction, a little bit of nihilism, and expect them to come out with stories that actually are like stories.
Yeah.
Because the trailers, from everything I've heard, lied to us. Because the trailers made it look like it was about Ant-Man trying to get the lost years he had back with his daughter,
Right. Yeah.
both from being in jail and the blip.
Yeah.
The movie is not about that. The movie is about Kang.
Oh, jeez.
And like there's like a little bit of that, but it's not important.
Oh, jeez.
That's everything I've heard. Because like the movie I described could have been interesting, but nope,
Nope.
we
That's not
can't
what they
have
did.
nice things.
Nope, we can't. Yeah.
So so basically, the other problem is that. And we kind of got derailed by this by the realization that they are actually going to try to tie Eternals into this for some godforsaken reason. The
Yes.
problem with this being Kang's movie introduction is that it's not a well-received movie by the audience or fans.
Mhm.
I think let's just go ahead and Box Office Mojo, Ant-Man, Box Office, Rotten Tomatoes. I'm so used to not looking at Rotten Tomatoes anymore
Yeah.
that Quantumania. So as of IMDb Pro, come on Google.
You still got Mojo in the search bar.
Oh,
There you go.
so I do. Okay, so 83% on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, we're not. We're not enabling as Rotten Tomatoes.
48% critical rating. Suspiciously high audience score, considering everything I've heard actual people who watched it say about it.
Yeah.
But that's like what I was talking about before. This is the self-selection of people who thought they were going to be interested in this, being the ones to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. In the words of Kyle from South Park, shenanigans.
I call shenanigans.
Yeah.
But anyhow, if like way fewer people than the previous Marvel movies went to see this one, when you try to bring Kang around next time, you're in kind of bad shape.
Yeah.
Also, I hate this Kang makeup they gave him because it looks like that one meme of the guy sweating bullets that everybody always posts.
Oh yeah, Jordan Peele.
Yeah, Jordan Peele sweating bullets. Like, because of how they did it, it looks like he's constantly like nervous, flop sweating.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't help it that he's sweating in that picture. I mean,
yeah, every time I see it, it looks like he's just uncomfortable and afraid, which is not what you want for your next antagonist.
Yeah. You're Thor level or you're not Thor, Thanos level antagonist.
Yeah, and like the fact that everyone's just trying to like talk about him, like talk about the actor himself, tells you like the spin they're trying to put on this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of like the live action Masters of the Universe. Yeah, that movie was terrible, but Frank Langella was really good in it as Skeletor, or Street Fighter. Yeah, that movie was terrible, but Raul Julia as Bison was amazing. Yeah.
Which that part's accurate.
That part is that part is accurate.
But so I think we can stop. He's already dead.
Yes.
It's not a good start. It tells you that whatever audience wanted to see this movie is not going back to see it again. They aren't telling their friends to see it again, which means that even if Jonathan Majors, is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
Is the best Kang to ever Kang, and he's amazing. That message is not getting out there. So when you have to build up to the Kang dynasty in 2 years.
Yeah.
Because that's when they're scheduled to bring out the Kang dynasty, is in 2025. You don't have a lot of time to build him up.
Yeah. Oh, no, hey, D Rhino, good to see
man.
you. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean, they built Thanos up for 6 years. I mean,
showing him little by little. Guardians of the Galaxy was the most we really saw of him up until a certain point, and even then, he's just established as the bigger threat that's behind the small threat of that movie.
Yes, yeah.
And I think the reaction to this movie is having larger consequences, like the Marvels. We did our upcoming movie release for 2023.
Yeah.
Look ahead. We reported this in July. It's now coming out in November.
Ooh.
And bonus story, it sounds like multiple sources, including Grace Randolph, who I would call on the opposite side of the Midnight's Edges of the world.
Yes.
Her rumors seem to confirm that they did not do well in test screenings. Because of why would it? You've put together 3 characters whose only commonality is they happen to have the name Marvel as part of their superhero name.
Yeah. Yeah,
From 2 of them introduced in TV shows and have not been in a movie, and one of them in the most, how to put it, conveniently timed movie release in history.
Yeah. Boy, you talk about a con, man.
Yeah. I want the 2 hours I spent on that watching with my dad at home back.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
But still, this is a sign that they might be finally starting to realize, crap, this phase is not going well. The last phase didn't go well, but now we actually have to now we can't hide behind Disney Plus subscriber numbers to make up for a lack of money making.
Yeah.
Wall Street is getting wise to us.
Yes, yeah, and they might end up going like full, Warner Brothers Snyderverse panic mode. Like, oh God, what are we gonna do? We gotta stop this now. Stop it.
Stop.
Yeah,
I think there is a really decent chance we never actually see the Echo or Agatha Harkness TV shows. They're supposedly delayed right now, but well, we've seen from Disney Star Wars how much you can announce things and delay and delay and delay. Oh, whoops, where'd it go? Where's it on the
yeah,
update schedule?
yeah.
Oops.
It's still waiting on that trilogy from Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. And by the way, in case you wonder, well, maybe Ant-Man will develop some sort of legs. Let's look at what else it has coming up around it. First off, it barely fought off Cocaine Bear, an R-rated movie
Yeah,
called Cocaine Bear
Cocaine
that
Bear,
came
yeah.
out in 800 less theaters.
Yes, directed by Elizabeth Banks.
Yes. It also, Jesus Revolution came out and did pretty decently.
Yeah,
It sounds like it's actually a fun faith-based movie, which is rare. A rare sentence
yeah,
to say.
yeah. That's yeah.
But we have a bunch of other things that have just been here filling out the top 5 and top 10. Nothing really
Yep.
new. But it comes out tomorrow, and I had forgotten that time had moved this quickly. The new
Yeah.
Demon Slayer movie. And I'm going to be very curious to see how this does this weekend.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
Because the first one, released during like 2021 in the States, its opening weekend. Of course, there's nothing left for this movie. 1 second.
Mm.
This movie in the U.S. during the depths of lockdownerism opened to 22 million in the States and ended with just shy of 50 million. Remember that this is a world where Dragon Ball Superhero was the top movie of the week in August and made 22 million in its opening.
Oh yeah.
Demon Slayer is ridiculously popular with the kids and with the weebs at my work. Like multiple people at my office have Demon Slayer figures sitting on their desks. This has potential to I don't know. This could depending on how widely they release this could potentially hit 100 million. Which that's the audience that Ant-Man wants, but it's not serving properly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Actually, I wonder if they have let's see here. Do they have anything about how many screens? Nah, I guess it's gonna have to be something we're looking to next week. Darn.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, I've read ahead in the manga. I've been looking forward to seeing this animated.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I think I might. I think I watched like the first episode of this, and then for some reason, I didn't keep up with it. I have to go back and get back into it.
Yeah, it's I would not recommend watching one of the movies without watching at least the first season first, because here's what's unique about the Demon Slayer movies.
Yeah.
Most shonen series, if you have a movie for I don't know, Fairy Tail, Dragon Ball, whatever, it is not in continuity, and it's just we came up with a villain. It's the heroes find the villains with the power-ups that were in the most recent season of the anime. Lather, rinse, repeat until cancellation.
Yeah.
So it's inconsequential villains who are defeated relatively easily. You're just there because you want to see Deku punch a new villain in the face on the big screen with a higher budget.
Yeah.
Demon Slayer, they actually are adapting the story proper. So what they did with the Mugen Train that came out in 2020, 2021 was they came out with the movie, and then they split it up and added more scenes to turn it into the first half of the second season.
Okay.
If the pattern goes like the previous movie, I would say you're probably safe to watch this and skip the retelling episodes, because they made sensible cuts. Let's just say.
Okay.
But anyways, this is what, if they could barely fight off Cocaine Bear, guarantee they will not fight this off unless Crunchyroll did something stupid like only put it in 1,000 theaters or something like that.
Yeah. Which,
It,
I wouldn't put it past them.
Crunchyroll is quite good at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So
yeah, that's very true.
It's something they have in common with Marvel.
Mhm.
So I think that's the end of our topics for the week.
Yes, I do too.
Pour one out for Daniel, who has to try to decide how to cut up this ridiculous backwards episode.
Oh, I'll figure it out.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell for notifications. And if you happen to be watching this on the replay, comment down below.
Yes.
Yeah, because those are all algorithm-friendly things, and
feed the algorithm.
Yes, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everybody.
Night, everyone.